On this episode, we're going to work on the front suspension and gonna cut that old crap off and put on some brand new shiny stuff. I love when I forget to turn the camera on. Alright, so I got the wheel stands bolted up there, and that will give me the center height to the center of the wheel. And then I've got the wooden blocks there. Frame is sitting on, everything's square and level, the 5-inch ride height. So the next in the plan here is to make the jig so we can cut the front of it off here. I've already made these brackets to center the front bumper mounts, and then this guy here for the center core support. So I just need to tie everything together, square it up, and cut the front end off here. So I'm going to cut it off somewhere in this range here, because this area is all flat and square. So I just need to mount a piece of angle iron from here down to the floor, and then from here out to where the bumper brackets are going to tie in. Then I got to secure these to the floor, and then cut off the steering box, and then we're ready to remove everything here. Anyways, got those brackets mounted. Got that one there, so I'm going to put a crossbar in here, tie all this together, 36 1/4, we're good to go. Getting everything level is super important here, because if the chassis is level, then you can always use your level to make sure everything else is square. The problem is this frame is so rigid that I need to add a 1/4 inch shim on the left side, but the frame has 0 flex, and if I put just a 1/4 inch shim under it, then the right side is up in the air. So I need to put a shim in the back, I guess. There we are, just that guy. Now we're good. So what I'm doing is I got my jig here. I need to screw that to the frame, weld it all together. It will go up here, meet the bumper bolts, then I'll take and screw this thing right to the floor, and then everything will be square and tight and should stay exactly in place. Oh, getting close. I can get rid of that steering box because we're not using it anymore. Maybe pull the steering column out today. So one of the reasons to subframe, because post-war cars, or we'll say post-50, they have a more of a modern type suspension. Stamped frame rails, so they're not really easy to do a frame kit on. Any of the pre-war cars are much easier to install a Mustang 2 on because the frame rails are straight. The post-50 cars, they're stamped frame rails, and they're just, you really can't do that. It's much more complex to deal with. Although it does have more of a modern style suspension. However, you run into limitations of what your suspension can do. Now, I could have just bought dropped uprights and a disc brake kit, and then probably got what I wanted to there. But then I'm stuck with a super archaic steering box, archaic steering linkage, and everything else. So instead, I can go to a more modern style, Mustang 2 style, or really it's just a conventional design with ready off-the-shelf parts that I can easily obtain. And it really is nothing more than doing a couple frame rails. Now, dollar for dollar, between dropped uprights, a disc brake kit, all the rebuild kit for the A-arms, everything else, rebuild kit for the steering box, and on, to get this suspension to work is about $2,000. It's actually cheaper for me to go and build a whole new subframe with all new modern stuff. It's just not logical. Plus, I'm going to do electric steering on this, which this configuration doesn't give me a chance of. So this is a much better layout. So this is what we're using. Basic run-of-the-mill Mustang 2 style IFS kit. I've got this stuff from multiple different sources. It's pretty much, at this point, as generic as you can get. But it's time proven, and it's pretty easy to deal. You get the nice modern rack and pinion steering, updated geometry, disc brakes. We're of course doing air rides, so that's a whole other thing we got to deal with here. Don't fall over and crush me. So dollar for dollar, you kind of can't beat it. I obtained a electric steering kit off the Toyota, oh, whatever it is. I guess it's the same as the Prius, whatever it is. So I'm gonna figure out how to make that work. Not 100% sure if I'm on board with this design. I have seen aftermarket ones for sale that I can buy, but at the moment I can play with this and see if it'll work. It'd be kind of cool if it does, because it was relatively inexpensive. However, if it gets any more complex, then I'll just buy one. But I gotta make sure I have room for it too, so there's that. But yeah, we'll get there. So measure my track width, which is the outside portion of the disc to the other side, is 59 inches. Now I could have just went and bought a cross member for a 59 Apache, which happens to have the same track width, and that'd have been a lot easier. I don't really care for the design of those ones, so I'm going to go ahead and just make my own out of a 2x4 box tubing and kind of copy the Scott's Hot Rods design. I really like theirs. It's nice and clean, you know. So that'll be a matter of just figuring out the track width, figuring out where my pivot points are. I got a stick of 3/16 2x4 box of steel. Just cut a piece that fits there. Then a matter of bringing it up to the new frame rails that we're going to make, and it should be easy peasy. Well, in theory anyway. It's still a hell of a lot easier than doing like a Camaro subframe, which is what we used to do. This is much, much cleaner. I mean, you've seen what that 41 Chevy was like. It's a complete disaster. So this is a much, much better option. And frankly, it's going to be much cleaner. All the bumpers going to mount in the same spot. Plenty of room for the motor, and on and on. But much, much, much better plan. That thing is plumb full of dirt. Oh, this car. I'll get my saw and chop that off. Alright, now that's all out of the way. So I planned this out to use existing holes that are already there. So that'll bolt up. Let's do it. Right. Get that lined up. This guy lined up. So I put these on here to represent the width of the wheels. So I'll use these to align it side to side, and then we'll anchor it down tight. These will also be really handy doing alignments on cars. Yeah, because that way you can do it in real world. So does anybody have any idea why these springs are on brake drums in cars in the 50s? What was their purpose? I've never seen them in later cars and never earlier cars. Never found any real reason for them. Alright, so now it's just a matter of measuring side to side, compare front to back, and then that to maybe the frame, get the suspension square so we set everything up correctly. So we can take a time to find the exact center of the frame, use our plumb bob, and mark on the floor so that way we know where center is. Then we'll go into the transmission where it mounts, find the dead center there, drop a line so that way we can line up the engine. I also put a center notch in my wheel stands so that way I can snap a line and find the center of the wheels. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is mark where we're going to drill all of our anchors. Now that we've got everything square and lined up, Just a matter of marking these. Pull it all back apart. Put our anchors in, bolt it all back together, and then final weld it. And then once it's final welded, then we can take it all back apart and cut the frame off. One of the other huge benefits of going this route with the suspension is the weight savings. It's probably, I would say, half the amount of weight as the previous suspension, let alone all the rear suspension. I think between the engine, trans, front and rear suspension, I bet you I've shaved off 2,000 pounds off this thing. The motor that's going in is all aluminum, so it's definitely a lot lighter than it used to be. Hopefully it helps the gas mileage. Now, these are the anchors that you're going to want to use, and you're going to want to use these because they'll go flush with the floor. So when you're done, you just take the bolt out and you have nothing left other than a little hole there. It's going to be imperative that you do this when your wife is not home, because to have her come out and catch you drilling holes in the garage floor, you don't want that action. Trust me. Easy peasy. It's definitely important to drill the holes first before you weld everything together. That way everything goes back the way you need it to. And it's just a matter of Honda with the setting tool, drop that in there. Drop our bolt in. Now we are anchored to the floor. That sucker ain't moving now. Had to blow the leaves out. I don't want to start a fire and burn my kid's car down. That won't go well. So for this project, going to try out the new Arc Captain MIG welder. They sent me this to try out, so we're going to see if we can get this sucker to burn some metal here. One thing I'm very excited about is actually the welding hood. That thing has the captain's view. Very excited about that for my old blind eyes anyway. I like that already. Only because it's got shiny stuff on it. All these knobs here. Oh, then it has the manhood knob here. Hard, soft, or standard like most of us, I guess. So this is supposed to be an inverter welder, which I don't really know what the difference is. Tells you what the voltage I'm using, that's kind of neat. My wire speed is in the metric system, which, I don't know, some weird Canadian stuff there. See if I can't figure that out. Yeah, I know it came with instructions, but I'm a guy and, you know, we don't really read those, so I'll just push all the buttons until it either works or breaks. Ooh. I don't know what this does. Oh, let's light it up. Time to go burn some metal. Let's see what the old Arc Captain can handle. You know, it's kind of a funny name, Arc Captain. They should have named it like, I don't know, Weld Pirate or something. Far more entertaining. But anyways, let's get it hot and see what happens. You know, I really do like this welder. Works real nice and smooth. Right now I'm on 110 volts and it's a little windy out here, so it's not exactly ideal, but welds real nice and smooth, and you know, I can't complain about that. But like anything, you gotta learn all the little nuances. Like any new relationship with a woman, you gotta figure out where the sweet spot is. But you know, not bad. Thanks. I really like this helmet too. This thing, man, you can see everything in this. Fantastic. All right, jig is totally welded in there. Time to disassemble it, take it out of there, Chop, chop, chop. I just gotta figure out how to get it out of here. So trying to find the flat spot. So that's where I'll cut. So I think somewhere in this area here. That should be a decent starting point anyway. I can always trim back as needed. Well, what's done is done. Time to move on. Poor little mud dauber's never had a chance. This damn thing's full of it. Oh, nice. Oh, it's all full in there too. Start digging that crap out. Look how thick that is, 3/16. This thing is stout. So the next order of business is to final my marks and then do my chalk line, so I got a square. So there we go. Now we got axle center line, chassis center line. So I can center the motor over that. You know, you only get one shot to do this, so whether you need it or not, it's a good idea to do it. This is probably the crappiest cart I've ever found, but it's what I got currently. So these exhaust manifolds are too big, which is good because I bought the smaller ones. Well, making progress. Well, almost like it belongs there. Need to get the motor set up today, so that is the goal. And get rid of that thing. These will fit a lot better. They're closer to the block, so it gives me more room. So this is the stock Suburban oil pan. I do have one that's 2 inches shorter I need to install, so maybe I'll do that right now. So giving my ride height plus 1 inch, that gives me 6 inches there. So I'll put the trans pan on here, and then I'll make sure that my pan is at least 1 inch higher than the rest of the chassis. Just gotta figure out the front. got this one, which is a 2-inch shallower sump. This will actually lay the same height as the transmission pan. Well, alrighty then. That will get us at the height we need at ride height, and when it's parked on the ground, oil pan will be 1 inch above the asphalt, hopefully. And just like that, a perfect jig. Now this is where, if you're going to narrow the track width, you could go ahead and put spacers here to narrow the track width, but we're leaving it stock, so this gives us some idea of what we're doing here. Things are starting to look right here. So I put the bottom A-arm on some wooden blocks. Got my straight edge here to make sure everything's aligned, because the bottom A-arms are parallel to each other. So I'll find the measurement from here, from center to center, and then cut my piece of 2x4 steel to match that and start making that bottom piece, and we'll continue from there. Also, I'll go ahead and cut this piece on both sides as a starting pattern here. Although I can tell you, I think I need to come in, the frame rail come in a little bit and come out, just to have clearance for the bag here. We'll see. Alright, so here's the bottom cradle, 2x4 3/16. Both together. I still got to weld it, obviously, the dry fit. So let's fit that up. Whew. Also made the mounts for the bumper. I'll bolt these on here as a starting point, and we'll start working around here. That's the beginning. Maybe get some better blocks to put that on. Those are kind of crooked, but at the moment they're just fine. Gives me ample clearance of the oil pan. Plenty of room up front. Let's bolt those on. So looking at this, my bag is going to be in the way of the frame rail. So I have to take the frame and come and kind of go around. And that's only because I have to have a big bag, because it's a big car. Otherwise I'd use a small bag and it'd be a non-issue. So, you know, complexities. Here's a pro tip. For help with mock-up, your lifting plates there are always fantastic because they're consistent in size, they stack well, and they're nice and heavy, and you know you're sure the hell aren't using them anyway for anything else, so might as well put them to use. So after thinking this out and putting some planning here, what I got is I got my airbag sits here, which is a little tight. So what I did is I put spacers here to bring this side out, and then I will cut the inside here so the rail comes out about 1/2 inch, and then I'll just gusset it in, and that will bring this bar straight, give me room for my airbag and my airbag mount and all that good stuff. This was after the confusion of yesterday when I put the spindle on upside down and I couldn't figure out why all my math was off. Turns out it was just some assembly required. But that is where we are at the moment here. My other option would have been to dogleg the frame here, which I don't really want to do, so it's just sort of a little zigzag here will solve all kinds of problems. Got plenty of meat. I got my serial number right there, so I gotta try to work around that or cut it out and move it or something like that. But let's get close. And my bag. I like that a lot. Plenty of room, everything's square. I think this is a keeper. It'll give me room here to make a quick little gusset inside and out. Perfect. So now with things more mocked up and in place, I can start thinking about my upper A-arm mount. Yeah, probably should get that. So I need to have some room for alignment. So pretty much just a simple bracket that I'll weld on here. I can actually buy those from Speedway. Maybe I'll just order them. Same with my front and back mount. I got plenty of room now. No problems there. So cut out my bottom plate, my top plate, figure what to do with that. And that is 100% going to work out perfectly. One of the beauties of making a jig is you keep moving things around if they don't fit until you get the right setup. Everything stays where it's supposed to be. So this is actually working out quite well, and believe it or not, pretty simple. Get these ready to weld together. Start assembling the jigsaw puzzle. I'll take and fill this hole here so it's all nice and professional looking, just like your mama made, right? Woo, baby! Gorgeous. Got that welded together. Took the spacers out there. I didn't like them. I'm just going to make this kind of weird transition. So I'm just going to get a smaller bag. And that will solve all those problems. I think that's the easiest solution. Plus it'll be easier to box all this in. A little arts and crafts. Learned in Mrs. Simpson's 6th grade class how to do paper mache. It's paid off all these years. That will work. So made that. off my template. Get a little more cleanup, and then I think maybe I'll tack it in place and see if we can actually fit that thing up. Check, check, double check. $55 and a half. This would be the second core support I have to make. The first one, while I was trying to be witty film guy, I actually forgot to check to see if it was centered. So instead of being, you know, cool, I just wasted metal. The struggle is real. So that there is the second core support mount. I'll have to put a shim under it, but there were shims when I took it apart, so not a big deal. Front cross member is squared in. Lower cross member is welded together and all set up in square. Made a boxing plate for the bottom of the A-arm to strengthen it, as well as to mount the bag. I made these as opposed to buying some to mount the upper A-arm, which will go here. I gotta rotate this down, but it'll go by here, so it'll give us room for adjustment there. And then I made the upper bag mount that'll go here. I still have to bend it, but I still need the new bags, so the ones I have are too big. So now it's in a position where I can pull it out and weld everything together, and I'll do that in the next episode because I'm waiting for some parts still. So anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time. Please subscribe.